I guess this kind of works. But personally, I just wanted to talk about right here. This is the balancing suggestions that they've gotten from a lot of players, and then they've been organizing it and stuff like that. But yeah, they try and plan to implement these on the 15th, which was pretty interesting. And I was looking at some of them, a lot of them last night, and found them pretty interesting. And now I'm using it as an excuse for footage and giving my own opinion for context and stuff like that. So as you can see here, they have like a very nice organized table of contacts and stuff like that. They want an update with heavy stance where when using skills with heavy stance, they can potentially cancel the skill due to heavy stance. I do agree with this one. It feels very awkward in dungeon play when it happens. Sometimes PvP, but honestly I get this more often in dungeon than PvP. If it's in PvP, I feel like that I don't mind it as much because I'm mashing and I kind of deserve to be punished. But for that one, it's oh well. They want dash ZZ to improve to go near the monster. I think the problem with the command, is that dash ZZ, the character doesn't become an actual hitbox, but the cannon. But due to how the cannon is positioned, it makes the hitbox of it really weird. I think if you increase the hitbox to slightly improve the character as well, it also makes it a more reliable combo, even on corners, because on corners it doesn't even work properly due to how the hitbox is shifted. Like, because it will phase through, and therefore on a corner the enemy cannot go to the corner, so since it's not pushing them, they don't get hit by it. It's very annoying and awkward for it. So they wanted to talk about heavy stance. They want it to be smoother of a break from heavy stance. I don't know if they mean that in a sense of animation or hitbox. Like, for example, is it easier to get out of heavy stance, or maybe like the heavy stance frame disappears faster, so therefore instead of skill getting cancelled, you actually get hit and punished. So therefore you don't like mash and like lose a skill and stuff like that, which I agree with. If talking about that, if talking about in maybe some other way, because again, this is Google translated, so it's not the best. It's very weird. They talk about how since the reboot, the motions of a lot of the inputs don't faster in concept as the point too much. In addition, some can strike excessive after image. There's a place where it occurs or attacks like not connecting and stuff with like some cannonball combos and stuff like that. Which a good example of this is actually ZZ down ZZ. That animation is sped up so much, and because of how much attack speed we have nowadays due to socketing, the animation's initial sped up along with speed bottoms, that input doesn't even connect like at all, and it doesn't feel like that it was tested. As you can see here, they talked about, I actually really enjoy the amount of input that CC was given, because a lot of it were adjustments which felt really smart and good, and also have a lot of technical things. Like, for example, CC's dash X is the only one that launches targets into the air. If you don't have a cannonball, it'll actually just KD them. So personally, I really like that they pay attention to that. I don't think they purposely touched, or I don't know if intentional or not, but they probably didn't touch it up as much or noticed it as easily due to the fact that Transcendence makes it so therefore he has unlimited dash X cannonballs, which doesn't matter as much. Then there's the command dash XZ, talking about how the character has a strike, where sometimes when you do it, you will phase through on the other side. Again, that's more of a client problem, so you can potentially fix that. But I do think the hitbox is good because it's fairly meaty, and it feels like that it actually like involves the character's hitbox itself rather than just the cannon. They just want dash DZ, talked about earlier, being improved. Dash jump X. Change the push down judgment judges down figure. I'm reading this word for word. Pretty much what they're saying is dash jump X without reducing infinite combo improvement. They're talking about how dash jump X has very low to no KD values, and they should try and adjust that. Which I'll get into this kind of a topic later due to there are other inputs that they talk about this as well. I believe they also mentioned it with X dropping as well. But yeah, then there's dash jump ZXX. Character being pushed or relative suffer a final blow. They just want this improved. I personally really like this input. Even just the normal dash jump ZX is very useful. I think they're talking about like weird, again, client-siding-ish kind of things, or like the push property of it is really awkward. I don't really have that much of a problem with this input, but I might just need to be worded a little bit better for me to understand, because Google can only translate so well. ZZZX, pushed after certain due to speed or greater normal number of combos that will continue during the launch phenomenon. So pretty much they're saying with too much speed, ZZZX, which is weird because CC again gets a different ZZZX. They talk about how if too much speed, like it's more relevant in the 8 one, which is XXCX, which they're both heavy unloading cannonball combos, but I say that it's more noticeable with ZZX. They're talking about the position when you land those combos and fire those missiles. The missiles would not connect and they would actually be too close. Therefore, players will be punished when doing so. Personally, I feel like that they do need to touch up that in general, along with the fact that there are 2 hitboxes with it, which are the cannon itself and the missiles itself. I do think that it is fairly nice for them to touch that up, for it makes it very inconsistent of combo to really use. Which, I'm impressed that they even mentioned XXZX, because not many people really use that. Most that I've ever seen people use it, which are very few, is they would use ZZZX more often than XXZX. I like XXZX if I want to get a little bit more momentum from where I am, to unload the cannonballs as like a little pit trap for like PvP at least. Then they talk about ZZ down Z, improved strength where opponents sometimes do not launch. I noticed that in NA, which I think is more connection based, but if KR gets it as well, then it's possible for it to be tweaked up to be a little bit better of a hitbox or something like that. ZZX, this is the spin. They're talking about how sometimes you phase through opponents, and when you attack them from the corner, sometimes the last hit will not connect due to the position of it, which I think that's character specific or connection specific, but yeah. Okay, so this is the last thing that I wanted to talk about, which is right here. They talk about up X of the KD of it, change to an increase in infinite phenomenal improvement. They want to adjust the KD of up X because, again, most people will just do like basic launch and then spam up X's, and it's becoming more of a relevant thing. The only reason why it's really weird, although I agree with them that everything should have a KD value and everything should be adjusted like that, the thing though is that if you do it to this, you have to do it to every single thing as well. Like, personally, I think they had a good approach when they did it to Alice's, where they made her dash X actually not give, actually have KD, but there was such an outbreak of players complaining about that they reverted the patch back. Like, they actually had such cool concepts of how to change Alice's knockdown values. Like, they even made like dash jump ZZZ. Like, it's a weird knockdown that launches the opponent after they touch the ground. Like, I personally found that very amusing and interesting, and I wanted to mess with that, but we didn't get much of a chance because everyone was just complaining that we can't just use Dash X anymore to just infinite people or like manage combo limitations, stuff like that, which I think is just a huge overall on needing to update knockdown values for all the characters in general, especially with something problematic like wind in the game, for that just makes it so therefore things don't have KD and stuff like that, and then there's so many infinites and stuff like that. Like, managing KD, if you do it well enough, it literally is so impressive, because then players have to overtank and then have to mana break, which then they have a very slim chance of doing it, but then your opponent has literally like so many more options and so much more time to react because they have more mana and they are up while you have to still do a recovery animation to figure out where to go from that. So right here, I think this is just the example of low altitude when in the air. This is just others, they put it, rather than just CC. But yeah, CC passives that they want to change. Metabolism boost. They want the item recovery of it removed from the game because it doesn't really affect or do anything for the character in PvE. But then they wanted to have some sort of critical or maximized passive along with MP cost reduction, which I don't know exactly how I feel about this. Like, I would like free stats like how every other character has free stats, but we also have a huge amount of physical damage multiplier, but it's not really doing as much. As for the MP cost reduction, I do agree, because I have gotten to the point with, again, this is just a problem with Resonance. Resonance is too costly to really invest into for all this stuff. And I actually removed all my Resonance of MPR and removed all my sockets of boss damage and then just replaced all my sockets with MPR. So therefore I have at least a more comfortable playing field, but my damage is then also reduced. Having like at least like what other characters have of like free critical, free maximize allows those options of socketing boss damage. Yeah, as you can see, this is exactly what they're talking about. The deleting of HP efficiency, because it's not even like that useful or anything like that. They want to change firm will from it will proc, but it won't like, it will still like affect you in sense of momentum, I think is what they mean by this. And then there was apparently some sort of bug where damage gets whenever it happens, damage procs on party members, which I don't think I've ever seen or done anything for that. I do agree that strong will, the damage negation is already really strong and really annoying. If anything, I would probably say make that a percentage, but the fact that it also like makes it so therefore they don't get launched up, their physics are changed due to like the interaction stuff, very annoying, very stupid. They should really stop with that. We've had to deal with that with the evac, we had to deal with that with counter and stuff like that. There's a lot of blocks in the game and it just doesn't feel well. They want to actually nerf this passive from immunity to duration decrease of all the debuffs on, which I am saying is a slight PvP buff, but in PvE it's also kind of a nerf depending on the debuff and stuff like that. Because like, think about it, for 15.5 for the leg wound thing, 60% is pretty big, and I have gotten away with so much stupid stuff because this passive procs during the wind thing. If it's duration based, I'm still going to not be able to run, which then can cripple and really hurt the player due to it. And then I can also like maybe use that debuff as an advantage and stuff like that due to like burst wolf transferring and stuff like that. This is actually, I think this stuff is actually as a community more of a thing rather than this one person. This person might be organizing and trying to sort it out and stuff like that, but a good amount of it is like that. They grayed out some stuff because they actually are tweaking and working on this right now. They talked about like the stats and MP costs and stuff like that, which I think they realized is a bit too much since they already mentioned those kinds of stats before earlier. And they like, when I first read this, they actually didn't have this grayed out, and I was reading it, it's like, this guy just wants a bunch of NPR. But I'm glad that these are being revisited and at least checking. This guy, I really like how this guy was wording things because he actually notices some stuff. He actually talks about nerfing guard. I love it. Um, this is the Freewell Iron Paladin where they want to delete the MP recovery / awakening charge due to heavy stance. And they just want dungeon improvements on the passive. And then one of the things that they had suggested before is a skill damage increase. Like, this guy just wanted pure stats for it. I personally am against this just because it fits with his design of using heavy stance to gain benefits, aka when getting hit. Like, back in the Rosso day, along with, like, for example, what was it? I think it was Temple Tuttle or whatever it's called in NA. I don't remember what it's called in NA right now. It was like Crusader's Armor, I think, or something like that. I personally want them to change that from lowering enemies that attack use damage to increasing allies' defenses. Because then it's more relevant to get hit when doing that. Because if, for example, in Raid you get hit, if the enemy has like cleanses or like is constantly in hyper frames or purple armor like Birth, you don't get much value for getting hit, and it helps with survivability. If anything, I would definitely make it like that, but then adjust the defenses to be like a little bit like reasonable rather than just broken, because again, too many defensive things makes the content a lot easier, and I personally don't enjoy it as much. Like, lasers nowadays in 15.6 phase 3 are such a joke with like a couple of defenses and attack lowering debuffs. Like, people have started bringing dark orbs, and like dark orbs literally negate that to take so little damage. Like, they need to add something just so therefore, although it becomes a DPS option, they also needed a way to at least be a bit more punishing, because it's not as fun. I also would like more variety with some of the patterns, like for example Hyven's bombing in 15.5 phase 3. Like, the fact that you always go to either the same two spots is just so boring. This is him bringing back the same things, but for PvP-ish aspects. They want Guardian Force to last longer, but reduce the value of it. Which, I agree with this. I agree with this with Rapid Guardian. Here it is, Temple Tuttle, Crusader's Armor. He just wants a tooltip separation for the passive. I still would prefer it to be changed to defenses, though. No, this in terms of PvP? Yeah. So active, they want to make it so therefore they don't have the black hole leap storage-ish kind of thing. And I believe in the other one they also talked about launching enemies too far or something like that in the previous one. Oh, I think it... Is it still here? No, it's not. I remember them talking about it before, though. Land Smash for both this and mod is they want it to scale with action speed, along with the strikes to actually match with the hitbox and stuff like that. I also want them to fix the normal one to not have a frame spike. Attribute applied as auxiliary discomfort. Because the only use that they had with Land Smash is the attribute proccing thing, which works in PvE but doesn't work in PvP. It's weird. Shout for PvP. Make it so therefore it reduce the time zone of when in it, and also make it so therefore it's only personal. So therefore it's like the other characters. Guard. Reduce the damage taken when you're guarding, and also unable to be used when hit. I do agree with the guard one. The guard one is a very interesting topic, because although I do like the concept of not using it like for it and stuff like that, you're then using it for just KD management, which then is the opposite of what guard is, or you preemptively use it for like holding it. If you're holding it, then like it's kind of weird to use, because if you're trying to use it to negate damage, you're not really going to get it. I just think that for guard, if you're going to use it when getting hit, increase the cooldown and also increase the animation recovery of when getting out of guard. So therefore, people can't just reversal with it. That was my main problem with guard. And there is that. Let's see. Special actives. They talk about Burst Wolf. They want to change. Although I translated this beforehand, so I know it. Although it's not read here properly. They wanted to change reversal trait to light. Pandemonium. They want to change from additional damage to increased damage. This is technically a nerf if you think about it. It helps out in a sense of party play due to frame rates and just makes parties feel a lot smoother. But it's a nerf in a sense of, since it's not an additional hit, you can't splash off it. If you're going to do this, maybe change the value to like 25% then. Don't make it 30 because again, the scales with ASD. So it's very weird. Lunatic Fury, they want speed increase, error discard, speed increase. I think this is a problem with phasing through characters and stuff like that when using it at times. And they want it so therefore it no longer pushes the enemy. Or knocks them up, I believe. Color Pain, they want to change the delay of the explosions of the normal one and making it from 100% defense ignore to 50%. I don't remember some of this stuff. Because again, I did read these on my own time and translate and stuff like that. They actually wanted to change this one to be from 100% defense ignore to 80 and then increase the base damage of it, which this one is actually a buff because then defense ignore such as like synergy or accessories or sockets are then meaningful to the skill at once as opposed to over time. Yeah. Oh, okay, so that's something similar to that, but yeah. They wanted to change Wonderwall to be a much larger radius based off the picture rather than reading. And the other thing that they actually talked about, which is right here, is they want the Wonderwall to be applied at the very end of the skill, so therefore players have a chance to actually get into it upon casting, rather than it's based off the CC's positioning on using it. Which I don't know how I feel about that, just because I'm very used to actively aiming and doing that for people. But I guess it slightly helps. I mean, as long as you make it bigger, the applying one shouldn't matter as much. And then they want the... I mean, personally, I would like one to be super armor and one without, and then in PvP, one to be like 15 to 10 seconds. Because it's so short, and I don't think super armor is even that good in PvP, but some people use it, so, I mean, some people like it. Rapid Guardian. Work with Bluehead. It's Wind Hose. So, why are we allowed to synergize with Celestia, but not with each other with Bluehead and stuff, but yet Natal Chart works perfectly fine with other people and stuff like that? If Natal Chart does that to an insane degree and for a full 60 minutes, I think we should be allowed to stack it with it. Apparently they removed the buff duration from it, which I think you can justify it if you nerf the values of the MP gain and the attack speed value of it. So like make it like, he said from 5 to 7 seconds, which I would have said like 10 or 15, but then you nerf like the MP gain, you nerf the stuff like that. They also wanted it so, they also had some other stuff with this before, such as like increase max MP for CC and remove one thing from allies to buff, which is very weird. So I don't know how I feel as much about it. Yeah. Natal Chart 60. Yeah. Honestly, I could care less about Crack Crusher. I think they're talking about the physics of Crack Crusher just not making as much sense and change reverse to light. Wait. You can push you know what? If I'm raiding later today, I want to try Crack Crusher. I have to test this now. Dude, I'm going to be raiding later today. But okay, Scare Chase, AI based off the caster rather than the show. I agree. I believe when I was reading the Fatal Phantom one, they also wanted the duration of it to be shorter. But the AI is much bigger than the duration, in my opinion. They want to change Mod Burst Wolf, to be from reverse to light. I don't really remember exactly what they talked about with the silence. There was some sort of thing that they talked about with the silence. Again, I don't really use Mod Burst Wolf for PvP just because I feel like that whenever you do that, you could just not engage or just do something else. Because, if you actually look at the situations of Burst Wolf, they're a lot smaller than you think in the sense of when to use them. But the moments that you actually use them and they stuff and are good, that's good. But for example, against like super armor and stuff like that, like aerial super armor, and then they burst wolf, they can hold the up key and turn around and stuff like that. But again, it's more of player knowledge and knowing what to do and stuff like that. I'm so curious about the burst wolf thing. Why is this World War II? I don't know if he actually meant that or it's just that pretty much they want to nerf the range and the damage of artillery nova. Again, changes with the Wonder Wall and stuff like that. Hyperactive Doomstrike Tiamat speed increase. And then, if I remember correctly, this is Master Class where they only want 4 to last 6 seconds just because it's an increasing incline, but then Master Class Stage 3 and Stage 4 are the same thing, but so it's like, why not just use Stage 3? Personally, I like using 4 just because it's 2 waves of icicles, so if you think about it, it's technically a longer freeze. But I think that the animation of it should be sped up. Oh boy, now it's time for the very messy one. Also, hey there, I'm just going through this quickly before raid, and then I'm just going to crop this, put it on YouTube. I want to try and get discussions on this kind of thing, because again, I feel like that NA doesn't have much inclusion when it comes to this kind of thing. I was actually thinking about maybe trying to organize something similar to this that we can do. I'll organize, situate everything, maybe have player names and stuff like that, and then give it to the GMs and then see what can be sent and stuff like that. Nevertheless, it's still too slow to come out. This one's a mess, by the way. This one actively made me upset, especially reading some of the comments and stuff like that. Well, they talk about XCX where sometimes it cancels itself due to certain sections and stuff like that, which I actually encountered like a couple of times, but I feel like that's more on the player actually inputting or having some sort of flaw with it. If they just adjust it, I guess it's okay-ish. Dash CXXZ. Pretty much they want it to actually scale with attack speed. Probably the level I'm not using. I mean, yeah, you don't really use those ones in general. Dash XXX, improved connection speed. I guess there is a slight... Yeah, because it's one gun and it's really slow. Dash jump ZX. Due to, they want it to connection or make the motion feel smoother for when setting up those cannonballs into the ground and doing so. They feel very vulnerable and stuff like that, but I feel like it's more of a set play-ish kind of thing, which is why I'm slightly okay with it for now. If anything, maybe speeded up like the falling afterwards or something like that, but other than that, like when using it, I don't think people should be using it aggressively, even though at times I have tried to, just because I'm so used to CC inputs and I keep thinking of it as a CC input. Silver shooter commands just to be improved to be skilled with animation speeds on the like mashing or holding-ish kind of ones. The stomp, after the stomp has been connected and stuff like that, the range of it doesn't make sense and stuff, which again we've talked about before. The backwards hitbox of stomp is much larger than everything else with the stomp to a very insane degree, and it doesn't make any sense, so this is slightly reasonable. Dash jump's easy due to the reboot and all that. It became a much harder skill to input, and I actually would really like to use the heavy stance frames on that, but it's too inconsistent of an input to really try and use and rely on, which I agree with right there. Silver shooters, I want to replace them as shooters. Oh wait, I think this one was talking about how it's still silver shooters and not phantom shooters for some things or something like that, and they want it replaced. Concept of using phantom, blah, 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 reality. I think this is just personal peeves of design of the character for this one. Document a world to the left, send a face cut out. Oh, is it? Oh. I apologize. Wait, but then... Oh, wait, is it because... We'll just deal with it like this. They talk about the inputs not working properly. Again, they try and go both for PvP and a PvE on it. This is passives. Shoot. One second. Let me open up on a different browser on the side. Some better translations for, Google Translate can only contribute so much. Oh yeah. This one in Dungeon Play, they want the cannonballs to be 100%. Double reload or something like that. It was actually a lot easier when I was just translating on its own. Where are those people were going to doc? Yeah. They have all the characters and stuff. I mainly just want to go over the Chung one before raids quickly. I just wanted to talk about some of the insane ones. This one is based off of I believe this is one of the other passives. Yeah, when I was doing this like in the middle of the night, I had to have like so many sources up just because I wanted to see exactly what they're doing and stuff. This one is... I think this one was... Tussle Technique? Oh yeah! Tussle Technique! They want their awakening to be 100% for Berserker. And their excuse was that, if I remember correctly, it's hard to maintain awakening. Blah blah blah, Celestia. Which Sense made that argument too. This one right here. Liberated Will, Deadly Chaser. They want to make their gun skills from the buff be from 15% to 40% when they already have other damage modifiers. They also want the silver shooter passive instead of being 1 second to 3 seconds. Which is cropped out, but it's okay, I said it for you. And then they also want the silver shooter buff to be from 10 seconds to 15 damage. I think they're thinking about it the wrong way, because in the later things they also talk about some of the passives, the marking one for like cannonballs and guns. They said skills should activate the marks too. And I'm like, I kind of want to be against that, although like actives are like a maybe. But the reason why I want to be against that is because they also designed, like, every time you advance the character, you get new commands, you get new things and stuff like that. I think what they need to do is they need to make commands a little bit more relevant in the game in order for it to actually be, like, okay to use. Because at that point, you're just complaining, it's like, in order for me to increase my damage, I need to mark them, which is a waste of time, even though it's a damage increase. That's like telling a son, don't use Cannon Strike, because Cannon Strike isn't that good of a button to do damage itself. But wait, doesn't the red cannonballs boost my skills damage? No, don't do that. Like, why? You're not spending mana, and it's like perfectly fine. Like, Ascent has to literally use Cannon Strike every single time, which they complained about that as well, and they wanted Cannon Strike to be in Aurora, and I'm like, no. If anything, just make your field skills, like Tactical Field or Heavy Field, one inside the field, give yourself a red cannonball per second in it, or something like that. Skills delay. They talk about the marks should not also be applied to commands, but actives as well and stuff like that. And then they also talked about like using skills and stuff like that should mark it as well. The only one that I can agree with is maybe using Exciting Crash to activate the cannonball mark. Even though Exciting Crash already applies that kind of a debuff on the enemy anyway. Imagine Inner Aura Orbs? You mean Devi Awaken? And then they talk about like how sometimes you can't even debuff and stuff like that. Therefore, Silver Shooter damage energy and Phantom Mark, even if there's an immune, wants it to at least work like past like things and stuff like that. Intense Showtime. They actually said with Intense Showtime, this was actually like reasonable if I remember it said and stuff like that. They want it to be balanced and adjusted because it's insane. That's like one of the most reasonable things that they said. Talked about that already. About that. Actives. Headshot. They want Headshot to be a marking debuff rather than the Headshot bullet having a chance to proc. Headshot. They want it so therefore it marks them, making it so therefore bullets have a chance to proc Headshot on it for 7 seconds. Which is an interesting concept, so I'm not fully against it, but that's also kind of strong. Like they said, they even make it in PvP have a 15% headshot probability. I do like the idea of making it so therefore he like makes his commands more relevant, but then they also talked about earlier being like, no, using commands might be a bit too much and stuff like that. Already a pistol/cannon mark? Well, the pistol mark is more for skills though. It's mainly the buff on it. So, like, I don't mind it because it's like a mini sharpshooter syndrome at that kind of point, but it also is kind of strong for the amount of mana that you're spending and stuff for it. So, it's an interesting concept, but I can't really find a reason to, like, agree or disagree with it. So, it's really weird gray. Rapid Ken, this is probably the second thing I can agree with him, is make it from 0 mana to 30 mana. The stun shot one is fairly interesting as well. They want to remove the super armor on stun shot and then instead make it 1 more second of stun. I think 1 second might be too much, maybe like 0.5 or something like that. Because, like, okay, yeah, people can mash or something like that due to if you don't lower their resistance is enough or due to light. I think that's just a problem with just light, actually. Like, there should be a cap for stuns, in a sense, but also then stuns would become very strong and very relevant and stuff like that, so it's just very weird for it. They talk about shout again. It's quite a big advantage for how long it lasts, so lessen the duration of it and make it self maybe instead of teammates or something like that. Which I do agree. Like, if Aisha is able to actually use hers like as a saving tool just by knocking people away and stuff like that, I think shout could probably be done like that as well. If anything, maybe shout just travels on the Chung and just like literally make it like a carbon copy of like Aisha's. Talk about that. Dual Busters scale better with action speed. Also mod and also reduce the knockback on the initials, which I do agree. Mod Dual Busters knockback is huge. It's very hard to follow up with it. Sharpshooter Syndrome, I believe they talked about changing the stats to be like maximize or something like that. And then they also talked about the trait of how 1.1 damage increase doesn't mean anything, and they should change it to be a range increase. So they want like the buff to be a bit better for the secondary stat, because magic attack is already insane. The action speedish kind of thing and the crit, it's kind of weird. I mean, like, they already get good stats with it. If they just get adjustments for those, I guess I don't mind too much with it. I do agree that the 1.1 damage increase is fairly useless, and then the range makes it a little bit better. That would make it really strong in PvP, though. And then they also want the duration trait of it changed from 10% to 30%, because they feel like that 3 more seconds is very short, but then if you add 9 more seconds, it makes the trait a little bit better. I wouldn't really say that much about it, just because I usually go for the range trait of it anyway, just because it's a very big it's a good skill and it's very big, and it has a very interesting last hit effect due to, like, you know, like how if you pull someone in, they just float all the way to the very top. That last hit actually lingers, and it's very interesting on people's like get-ups and stuffing and stuff. Fairly interesting. There was talked about bugs with Quantum Ballista. Like this one, for example, is clipping through the floor. Shooting Star, they want it to scale off of action speed. They want to increase the range that it's or they want to increase the range of Shooting Star. They want to increase the speed of the missiles that travel, and they want it to have a faster animation. Like, excuse me? And then they want to damage increase the mod Shooting Star, which, if you think about it from the heavy fieldish aspect or something like that, it has a black hole suction, but let me look up the damage of Shooting Star right now. Of mod Shooting Star. Because, like, it is a bravery skill, so I would say in dungeons maybe increase its damage. Let me see. It does, like, 8.7 with heavy trait. Maybe? I don't know. Maybe make, like, Shooting Star, apply at least, like, the mark or something, at least with it, or something like that. They want Rumble Shot. They talked about Rumble Shot having client-siding issues due to it not connecting properly on host screens if they're not hosts, and therefore missing out on some damage of Rumble Shot due to it touching an enemy and recognizing it and then popping it immediately, where on the main person's client, it isn't. Which, again, this is more for fixing clients rather than fixing the skill itself. If anything, I would say Rumble Shot, maybe just make it go bounce higher up. Like, make it actually shoot up. They want Heavy Railgun improved based off of the distance, the size shell, the blasted and stuff, and sped up. And then they literally made the comment of the text of Heavy Railgun makes it feel like that it should be like this. Comet Crasher, they want it to be also able to be used on the floor. Bullet Blitz, AI improvement, increase with action speed. Exciting Crash, have a better upwards hitbox and stuff like that. Dude, I'm telling you, like, when I was reading this, I was going, like, I never met someone that I have agreed and disagreed with. Burning Punisher, action speed increase, iframes until the foot actually touches the ground. They want to be able to use Burning Punisher without jumping, or maybe, like, use it while you're already in the air, so therefore you don't have to do the whole animation-ish kind of thing, which is an animation thing, which I agree with. And they're saying, like, they should make it, like, similar to, like, this skill, in a sense of, like, speed cast and stuff like that, or, like, if it's different. Mod Burning Punisher, increase the speed of the shots. Deadly Shot doesn't splash, doesn't have splash damage unless in dungeons. Have a Y range downwards instead of a negative Y axis, creating a range. They want it to be a cone rather than it just being gun upwards. Oh my god. Oh, and let me show you something that retreat. This is the one that literally blew my mind right here. This comment on Bullet Blitz here is saying that right here. Let me read it. Because again, Google Translate can only translate so well. They say that, like, since Bullet Blitz lasts there for a while on the field, that even if you, like, iframe and then it tracks onto you, so instead what they should do with Bullet Blitz is they should let the bullet continue to move forward. And I thought about that and I'm like, no, that just gives them a larger range to catch people with. Like, they were like, oh, okay, so when people use Bullet Blitz and then therefore people read it and therefore they try and iframe it, they'll still be punished because the Bullet Blitz is still there. We should just have it track forward. No, because then you can't react to the Bullet Blitz because they're off screen and they're gonna throw it. Hyperactive Outrage Strike, damage up, animation speed increase. Azure Finale, they say that weaken the suction power. They don't talk about the... wait, did they talk about the Power Stone? Before they didn't talk about the Power Stone. Let me see. I think they mainly talked about the suction of it. And the Power Stone and Azure Finale are excessive. Okay, this guy talks decent. It almost has a unique lowering that does not even fall if you hit. The combination of skills with Deadly Shot are very good. So when you are slightly lower than the current suction power, or fall down at a certain skill, if ever you went out for I think it needs to be adjusted. Okay. And then improve Wolfen Bullet. It's like, okay. Now the Centurion one, this one's kinda interesting. I think I can adjust that back. This was already shown actually in the CC one of the low altitude-ish kind of things. Talked about just making some of their animations a bit smoother and stuff like that. Dash Jump ZXX. What's that? Oh, reduce the bounce of the grenades. Okay. So they probably want the grenades to be like not as bouncy and then also shorter on the field. Dash Jump ZZ, increase input time. Yeah, no, Dash Jump ZZ definitely needs to be improved. All of them agree with that on that one. ZZ XX, Dash XX motion. They want it to scale better and have a better hitbox of judgment and stuff like that. Which I can kind of agree with ZZXX. That one is kind of wonky at times, but it would be fairly nice. Mobile reverse shelling. Make it easier to turn off with the double arrow input button. Making it easier to like get out of it and stuff like that. Especially with like the fact that gravity shelling and all those other fields and stuff like that get kind of hard. Yeah, they talk about it's hard to do. Enhanced cannonballs. Detailed description to specify the tooltip. Cannonballs increase damage and strengthen cannonballs. Example, or they want to reduce the skills consumptions of red cannonballs. For example, they want carpet bombing to go from 6 to 3 to get the damage increase. Which, if you're making if it's a resource that's really hard to manage, that's slightly reasonable to adjust because again, it takes a lot of time to actually get and manage that, and then therefore it makes it a little bit more reasonable and stuff like that. They want it similar to, like, for example, mutation points is what they put here, which again, it's reasonable if you talk about it like that. Pulse reload, they talk about how their cooldown acceleration should be split between both the cannonballs, normal cannonballs, and then red cannonballs. So therefore, they can get up to 1.75, but then when you release the skill, then it becomes 1.6. I feel like that doing that is okay, but maybe adjust the values. Like, what is even the values of Let me look up the values of pulse reload as of right now. Because Sense complain about their cooldown just because of their animation speeds being way too fast, which I think is like, personally, as someone viewing with like without feeling like those kinds of things like all the time and stuff like that, I feel like that makes it closer to the rest of the cast. But then if their animation speeds and stuff like that have that kind of a problem, I feel like that's more of a design of the skills itself than the character, because then it's like, oh, we'll just make their animations longer and stuff like that. It's like, but they complained about that in the past, and that's why they sped them up. And it's like, okay, but now these skills come out so fast, then they have such a big DPS, and it's like, I have mana problems. Like, you're trying to cater then to every single thing of that, and some characters are okay to have weaknesses. It's just really weird to try and balance out throughout everything. Wait, does Elwiki not have the patch? 1 second. Oh, but don't worry. I'm rating in apparently like 15-ish minutes. I'm testing Crack Crusher. Oh yeah, no, it's 10%. It used to be 15%, I guess? Yeah. Okay. So they just want it, so therefore red cannonballs get a little bit more when you have it, which I guess is okay-ish. This one they wanted to increase the MP recovery of Commander's Mark from 60 to 80, which I don't think they talked about a PvP modifier, and I don't think that's your problem, mister. They also wanted to make it so therefore if you ever get 1-beated, if you get the Awakening beats to be in 3-beat, you go into 3-beat, which is a design that I think is okay for the fact of when you build it up and then you get Awakening, then you can just Awaken and therefore have it. It's very weird to try and design Awakening, especially since they added so many more characters later where you can Awaken while on Awakening, like Rageheart, Ainz, Noah's. Labby is technically you don't control her awakening, but her control key still functions like a pseudo awakening for some for buttons and stuff like that, and it's just really weird. So they talked about Celestia's natal chart ruining people, making it to 1 bead. Personally, I feel like the 1 bead suffering, although it affects their DPS and stuff like that, is also just maybe just have the Celestia warn you or like coordinate better. But it's like sometimes natal chart's random though, so therefore sometimes it may happen and stuff like that. And like I feel like those options, those things that happen, are actually so slight to happen to speak of, and if it happens, it's more on like them and stuff like that. They want to talk about canon perseverance, making awakening duration increase, and then also having it the longer the duration, the more the risk is, or they want it to separated. For PvP and PvE of the awakening time. I mean, like, I guess. Technically, I'm not a big fan of awakening time in PvP just because awakenings are that relevant, which is why Vine Crown was such a big PvP accessory. But yeah. Then they talk about adjusting some of the stuff in PvE too. Or PvP, but they mainly just repeat the same stuff over and over. Actives. They want it so therefore Fatal Cannon, I'm assuming they want action speed improvement with it. They want it to be a normal cannonball instead of an enhanced cannonball. And then they want it to be from a projectile to be a piercing projectile, or within a certain range to hit. Because they want to make the skill a little bit more viable and relevant and stuff like that. I personally think Fatal Cannon, normal Fatal Cannon and mod Fatal Cannon are like the same thing. If you want this, you can just get the mod Fatal Cannon and then just say the same thing. You don't need to do this with normal Fatal Cannon. Personally, I like the range option of it because then it gives it a little bit more variety of a skill, and therefore the mod can cover for it. And then just make both of them not consume red cannonballs, or maybe make it that red cannonballs makes it better, because you're so off about making red cannonballs and stuff like that. Like Lavi's inner aura right here. Per second, 1 reinforced red cannonball. 0.33 form of a sentimental point for each. And then talked about Celestia and so relying on Hori and stuff like that. Again, I feel like that if you do that, increase the cooldown of Cannon Strike. If you do this. Personally, because Cannon Strike is very oppressive in PvP. Especially with it also applying Mark Commander and stuff like that. If you make it so therefore you just regenerate red cannonballs, you can literally just reverse shelling. You can literally gravity shell. You could gravity shelling and gravity shelling now that I think about it. That is the trolliest, stupidest thing I've ever heard. I don't think it's viable, but that sounds so stupid. Like, think about that. Then you can just literally just constantly pull shield. Yeah, no, the pull shield is what makes it good. But I'm saying you just keep someone constantly stuck in gravity shelling, in kinetic bombardment. It's just it sounds so stupid. They want artillery strike and missile shower to have multiple on the field because they only can have one at a time, which I slightly agree with. But artillery strike missile shower also does an insane amount of damage. If you do that, maybe make it so therefore it's not 30% damage increase from reinforced cannonballs. Then sure. Also, I would like you know how they have commanders mark increase their MP gain? How about this? Increase the MP gain back from marker commander enemies to like 100 or 150%, but only work on cannonball related skills. So therefore they don't just get the value of just comboing you. So they like kill cannon strike, gravity shell, kinetic bombardment, and then they just start X-dropping you, because then they just get an insane amount of mana back. Make it so therefore Commander's Mark is only skill damage MP gain. And it's like, okay, well then if they want really the value of it, they would have to use like Impact Detonation after the Commander's Mark. Bang! We fixed him in PvP and buffed him in PvE. Because people complain about his MP costs, and then they also, as of recently, they complain about his cooldowns. Because like all his skill animations are so fast, and everything's then on cooldown. It's like it's so hard to find a good, happy balance for everyone. Dread Trace and Mortar improved. They want maximum installments of this to be 2, and also increase the damage of Mortar? They also want monsters to not aggro or move due to Mortar and stuff like that. So they want Mortar to not be like a summon, but like on the field still do damage. I guess. But I do think that instead of saying damage up installing 2, they're just trying to make up for the damage stack of like, I can't have up to 3 mortars, so therefore increase the damage of it. No, that's not how it works. You're still spending the mana for that kind of damage. At this point, you're just then giving yourself a damage buff. Carpet bombing. They want every wave to be affected by carpet bombing. Which I guess makes sense in a sense of a skill that why only the last wave? Because again, it used to be 2 waves of carpets, and then the reinforced cannonballs used to be the 3rd wave. But now it's always there's always 3 waves, but then the red ones only affect the 3rd one. So I do agree with carpet bombing maybe working on all the waves, which is just a nice damage buff just to be relevant of it, because it is a size dependent skill. So personally, I think that would be okay to try and manage and deal with. Mod carpet bombing. Does mod carpet bombing curve? Oh wait, I think they want like it to push and also hit better, because they talk about spacing carpet bombing versus point blank carpet bombing, which I don't think is the proper excuse, because there's a lot of skills to position to try and do more damage. A good example is like, for example, Rising Slash. You don't want that to just all of a sudden be a fixed damage and then increase everything. No, you want to add skill. You want to have variety. You want to actually have to play the game. Yeah, you see that it does more damage at a distance, so how about you space it? This is a reason. They want mod heavy field to not flatten the enemy. I also think that, I mean, should we keep the constant hitbox on mod heavy field if people were to run into it to do damage? I guess for like spawning dungeons that's kind of nice and stuff like that. PvP, it's oppressive though. Maybe decrease the duration in PvP, especially without running and stuff. They talked about Chaos Cannon. They want it to be fired in one direction and faster, similar to like Revolver Cannon, and also make it purely straight, because there's the weird swivel that happens back and forth with Chaos Cannon. Honestly, I don't have much of a comment with this one, because Chaos Cannon is just kind of there, and like, although sometimes you use it and stuff like that, it's the damage of it is inconsistent. I'll give it that much. And the left and right firing, I don't know much on that. And it's not like that you're using it as much. If anything, I would say like maybe make Chaos, like as a suggestion or feedback of a thing, make Chaos Cannon similar to like mod Twilight Judgments, where it's like charges, so therefore you have a button to press while your cooldowns are done, while you like have this stored up. So like you go like Chaos Cannon as a setup, it fires the thing, and then you have charges in there, and then you use all your other skills. When all your skills are on cooldown, then you use Chaos Cannon's cannonball. So therefore you have a button to press while it's already there, and then what happens is then all your skills are off cooldown, Chaos Cannon comes back up, and then you like try and manage it somehow with that. I don't know, I'm thinking of some sort of rotation campaigns. Again, just throwing out ideas. Impact Detonation, improve. reason has exist. What is actually what they want with this one actually? Let me see if a separate translator helps with it. Nope. Something about knockback with impact detonation then. Strike interval decrease. I think it wants it to home in faster. Or like AI recognition faster. Yeah, see, look, they talked about normal Fatal Cannon, and they're like, have it have basically maybe these properties of Fatal Cannon, but forward. It's like, there's no reason. Just they're fine as is. Just if you don't want it to have the Enforced Red Cannonball, maybe that's fine, or maybe make it so therefore Enforced Red Cannonball makes it have a better magic defense lowering. If I remember correctly, they talked about Commander's Mark from being sending missiles based off the strike damage to just being a damage increase buff. So it's like a debuff like Pandemonium or like White Dwarf, Extinction, all those kinds of things. Which my answer is no. You're making, for example, in PvE, okay, maybe you're not going to get the viability of the missiles just because the other people are hitting it and then there's no strong hit and stuff like that. I think it just proccing and hitting is still helping like you a good amount and stuff like that. Maybe make the missiles have like some sort of better property in like PvE or something like that. But in PvP, if you do that, you're literally just making Cannon Strike, from what you have introduced, is gain red cannonballs per second. Gain more mana because you talked about wanting to be 60 to 80. And then having a flat damage increase, and then therefore when attacking the enemy, they won't get the missiles. Which the missiles are both a pro and a con of the character's design for. It's very annoying hit stun to manage, and it's very hard to get away. You get away with so many combos and stuff because of it. But then also, they can get out, they can escape and stuff like that. It's making them get more mana because of the hits and stuff like that. Commander's Mark is really weird in PvP, but doing this just is a huge relevant buff, and I don't... No. Talked about Cannon Strike. They mainly just talk about grenade nerfs. It's like... Excuse me? I do agree that Big Bang Stream needs a duration decrease because they haven't changed that duration of it, and that button used to be a strength, which was more reasonable. Then they made it tenacity, and then it doesn't make any sense. I do agree that grenades do need a little bit less bounce, though. I think just... I don't know the wording on this. Just animation speed improvement, I guess? I think this is like PvP-ish kind of things. And they talk about... Wait. Oh, they only want Rainism speed increase. I don't know, it's so weird talking about casting speed increases for those kinds of things. It adds a lot of, like, emphasis of the design of the character, and from an artistic animation approach, it's really cool. Along with Rainism being one of the stronger hypers in the game, especially with, like, large monsters and stuff like that. I do think that there is a slight problem with wanting to use Rainism in PvE. But if you're like talking about cast speeds, then you also have the option of using Satellite Rain. If anything, maybe buff up Satellite Rain and keeping Rainism, because Rainism is better in PvP, for example, and in PvE, depending on the size, then there is that as well. Which at that point is more of a design for preference and stuff like that. That's like saying a lot of the hypers look too fancy and they need to be sped up. Although I do agree in a more faster paced thing, it also makes hypers kind of boring. If anything, maybe just make it so therefore hypers can actually ignore iframe. I mean, like ignore the skills of them like actually using like frames and stuff like that, because then you have to time your hypers and stuff like that, which then adds a little bit of skill of trying to time those kinds of things to dodge. And it's not like that many people would really do it. Like make it like the, but then like the very longer ones and stuff like that become easier to time. So I don't know. From a as like an artistic approach, I don't really like the idea of it, but from a game design approach, it is kind of a nicer thing, but or like casual, like not exactly casual, but just aesthetically pleasing. It doesn't seem as aesthetically pleasing of doing that then, because like having the build up for it is what makes it really cool. But yeah, that's pretty much all of them. I want to go over all the characters, but I probably don't have time today, and also they want all of these by the 15th. So this is what I have so far, and maybe I'll talk more about it later after raid, but first of all, I have to see if I can push birth. I have to see if I can push birth. But yeah. That's pretty much it. Okay, now I have a time segment that I can go back to and crop that and use that for YouTube. Yeah, what are your guys' opinions and approaches of it? In my opinion, I feel like that the CC inputs, at least, are a lot reasonable, and they even asked for nerfs. FPs is a weird back and forth of the character's good, but I want him better, but this also needs to be adjusted. And then Sense are just like, we want buffs. Nerf the grenades though, but we want buffs. No, the CCs is like the most reasonable. There are some things I would like to talk about with the CCs though. But what is this? This was a Google Translate of the documents of feedbacks, which there's all these characters and stuff that they talk about, and they are like, do this. I really want to try and do something like this in NA. I want, or at least like to a global standpoint, because I really want input from everyone in seeing what they feel like for each character. I want it to have information rather than just buff damage because it doesn't do enough. I don't think that's a logical explanation unless you actually provide enough feedback of it. So therefore, like, I would like for some of this stuff. No, dude, the FP one annoyed me so much. You know how much of this bullet blitz link? Like are you serious with bullet blitz? Like the things I agree with you are some of your command-based things, which also I don't think they talk about ZZZX for FP being really awkward for the fact that it's ZZZX is literally different if you're in 3-beat or not. It is the most bipolar command I have ever seen, along with it being so weird due to animation speeds and stuff like that. But the fact that this person commented being like, maybe instead of bullet blitz just standing there in place and therefore oppressing people for being there, why don't we make it just continuously move forward? And it's like, okay, let's make a button that's used for catching people or adding pressure to someone on screen, to making a button that makes it add pressure when players are off screen. You know how many times, if that were to happen, players would panically press buttons when the FP is off screen because they don't know when they're going to press bullet blitz? Like, at least with the normal bullet blitz, which is already oppressive. Like, I just stand next to someone. I was doing PvP with him earlier. You just stand, like, nearby someone in a range where it's hard for people to approach, and they know you have mana the bullet blitz. They're gonna burn stuff. You know how many times I've gotten people's Obtens or, like, a Raven Shadow Step just because I'm just existing right there being like, I could press this button. You don't know when, but I'm going to press this button. They were to remove the... So, the thing with the trans passive of the Iron Will is I like it in a sense of design because therefore it actually allows the ability to tank similar to like Crusader Armor Temple Tuttle. But I also secretly want it to be like deleted or nerfed because it's actually sleeper good, which also makes me want to keep it because you know how much I have like done because of the heavy stance thing. Oh my god, that passive is actually so stupid in PvP. In PvE, no, I love using it in PvE though. Like in Raso raids, I used to use it so therefore I can get the Man Under Burst Wolf without using mana potions back in the Raso days when the fires actually meant something. Because, yeah, no, they have, like, every single characters and stuff. I went to Celestia. Celestia's, like, 28 pages of why are these things so high? Why are these things not have a PvP modifier? Why does this exist? The thing, though, is I don't know what they're talking about with Birth. Well, they talked about Birth, but they didn't say the Destroyer, which is technically a grip. But I want to know. Mod skills, which is concerning. I guess that is true, yeah. I want to go through all the characters, but the thing is that there's so many characters in the game to go through in all these feedbacks. I wouldn't mind going through it when I have time, but sadly